Singing is such a mental game.
Nobody seemed to know what this thing is.
Slowing yourself down, it's so important because it brings a different quality of breath, so it brings the different quality of life.
I became a mom recently.
When we're infants, we have the most amazing, the most pure way of breath.
Nobody's gonna believe us, by the way.
One sentence, one word, one idea can actually push you to the next level.
Passion will instruct the success.
I was that kind of like diva rock and roll star.
It was hilarious to me.
And it was Mozart, Figaro. Waiting until somebody will knock from the bottom and say, it's time to get up. Push now. Well, not everybody are ready to meet with themselves. You and I, against the world, we could touch the sky.
Cooper, what a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. You and your incredible voice.
Oh my God, thank you so much. My pleasure.
Absolutely. Speaking of voices, what would you say your top 5 favorite voices of all time?
Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Beyonce, Jennifer Hudson, Stevie Wonder.
Nice, Stevie Wonder.
Yeah. Actually, my love for Riffs and Runs started from studying his technique. Back in Russia, in my vocal school, my teacher gave me the song All Is Fair in Love that I fell in love with. I remember like going on the train, going like outside of Moscow, going back because I lived in the Moscow region. It was like taking me 5-6 hours a day to travel back to home from my school. So I was listening to this song like on, and I was like, my God, this guy is just like, he does magic. So I studied his technique so much, and actually everything that I've been working on vocally, coming into this culture of like riffs and runs and studying this Western culture, actually the first inspiration came from hearing him singing that song back on the train. It's magic.
Of course, we're going to talk about your music career and, you know, your voice and that whole journey, which is incredible, because coming from, you know, from Russia and doing things that you're doing here, that's what Enigma of Success is about. That's those kind of journeys. But I want to start from something absolutely incredible that I experienced firsthand a few years ago.
I remember that, actually.
We've known each other for a while. And reading about this more before our meeting, I was fascinated. I'm talking about the science of biophonics that you sort of exposing to the world in a way, and your own methods that's incorporating it. I mean, I'll let you talk more about it, but I was reading, and honestly, I was laughing because it was hilarious to me how little attention we put on something so fundamental,
right,
like our voice. And not just for musicians, but I think for people in general. I was reading, so I mean, I'll let you talk more about the actual science, but the fact that it can cure disease, that's, you know, people's bodies transform through it, and just in general is so incredibly, it's just incredible. And yet nobody seemed to know what this thing is. Can you talk about it?
Well, absolutely. So my whole journey with, you know, singing started from being sick. As a kid, I was diagnosed with asthma when I was 7, and I basically decided to take this path of musician and study voice because somebody told me, like, you have to learn how to breathe properly, and singing will help you with that. So the reason I became a musician and went that route was because of how sick I was, because nothing was really helping me with my breathing. So I was not getting better. But then I started taking singing lessons at the age of 10, and my voice was very small. My range was very tiny, maybe an octave, but I was very musical because I was an instrumentalist first. And I loved classical music, grew up around opera, ballets. My parents are classical musicians. So I knew that, you know, I had a sense of music, and the music was just part of my world. It was part of my DNA. And the voice development took a lot of time. And then more and more I was practicing with my vocal coaches back then. My breathing was not getting better. So I was actually digressing with my asthma. So it was actually not getting better. And then I remember that moment. I was 17 years old. I was standing on the balcony in the Moscow region. I was like looking at the skies, like, God, just give me like something. Because I know that I believe that I can be healthy. I really do believe that. But I can't get my singing was just like a roller coaster, right? So one day I can hit all those notes. And I'm a huge fan of Mariah. She's one of my like biggest influences and the idols. So one day I can hit all of her notes, all of the whistle tones, crazy high notes. And literally, like the next day, I'm hoarse and I'm going to the doctor and I'm like, I cannot speak for a week. I'm like, how can I go and be a professional musician and be on tour if I'm so unstable? So I was really like irritated by the fact that I could not be that stable. And then I remember that call. A friend of mine called me. He knew that I had that asthma I was fighting for many years, and I was so passionate about singing, and I won dozens of singing competitions as a kid. And everywhere I was going, people were like, "Oh my God, you're so talented! You're gonna be the next big thing." And I'm like, "This is so freaking unfair." People tell me that I'm gonna be this big next thing, but I'm like a roller coaster. One day I can't sing, the next day I'm completely out of my resource. I remember this call. My friend Alexei called me and he said, "Okay, Biophonics. There's a guy from Ukraine. He's actually an amazing opera singer, and he says that he can cure your asthma." And I'm like, bullshit. Another thing. I know everything about it. I've tried everything. Like at that point, I'm like this 17, 18-year-old diva thinking that I know everything about me and I'm on the top of the world and I rock this boat and everything is just like under my control. So at that point, I was at this, disbelief. I knew that, okay, I'm so sick that I will never get better. But I trusted that moment because I was always like hoping that there is a way out. My asthma was horrible. I've had asthma attacks where I was like, I'm dying. Like it's actually really scary, and it's obviously very psychological. I believe that asthma is a psychosomatics. It's not just physiology. It's not
But
just a
especially for a
physical.
singer, I would
Yeah.
think.
So singing actually saved me, and then going into this science of biophonics actually saved my life, and I remember my life before and after. It's just a turning point. And I remember the day I came to see Peter Goncharuk, who created that science. Um, my whole attitude was like, "Oh, it's another thing. It's gonna work. It's not gonna work out. It's not gonna help me." I was so like upset and sad and in my kind of disbelief. But he did an amazing thing. So he asked me to read a poem, and I said, "You know what? Like, let's just sing already. Like, let me just showcase what I've got, and then you tell me what I need to like fix, and then let's go." I was that kind of like diva rock and roll star. I really thought I knew everything about my life and the world, and I sang Alicia Keys, like a song of Alicia Keys, and he was like, "Oh, you have an amazing technique, but you're not breathing. By the age of 30, you're not gonna have a voice. You're gonna be just completely like out." And I was like, wow, it kind of like triggered me in a way. So then he sang an operatic piece, and I've been listening to classical music my entire life since I was 2. So I knew what good classical singing was. But then the way he was sounding and the way he sang was just magical. I had goosebumps all over me, and we were in the room, like with the sound isolation in the studio, in a booth, and there was like a drum kit in the middle. And then when he started singing, the hi-hats started like shaking like this, just from the sound of his voice. It was something incredible. I just remember that like it was yesterday. That day truly like changed my life and changed me, and I trusted him. Uh, he told me to lay on the floor. He told me to stop breathing in my chest and stopped expanding my rib cage, and somehow breathe with my pelvic floor muscles. I had no idea that we have muscles like that. And then it felt really weird and uncomfortable, and I immediately got asthma attack.
Wow.
Uh, and at this moment, and I was like, "Oh, I'm out of breath. Like I really need to get my inhaler because I'm dying." He's like, "No, keep going. I'll help you through. And then after 2 or 3 other cycles of this method, whatever he was doing with me at that point, I did not know. I feel like my asthma attack is going away. And I'm like, wow, it's magic. And then after 3 days of practicing with him, I'm waking up and I'm like, wow, I control my breath. I know everything. I feel it. And it's so different. It feels like I've never had asthma before in my life. My voice changed. I developed my range. The endurance in singing became just crazy. Like I could sing for hours and I was never getting tired.
Wow.
And um, no matter what I had the day before, like your period, or you're not in the mood, or like you're traveling like crazy, or you're dehydrated, or anything, nothing could influence me in a
Negatively.
in a negative way. So my singing got so like stable. I was really shocked of how he truly changed me and the way I function. He kind of like rewired all of the sensations that I had in my body when it comes to like breath. So that was magical. But it took me a second to really process the information and get used to this new habit of breath, because the whole philosophy about it. So biophonics, from Greek, is live sound. So a frequency that is created in the moment. Um, so he called his book A Frequency of the Goddess. How would I say that? The power of goddess frequency. That's exact translation of his book. It's in Russian for now, unfortunately, but I'll be working on getting it translated in English, because I feel it's the knowledge that we all need, no matter if we are singers or we speakers, or we just want to keep our life healthy and be healthy and have a longevity, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's precisely the reason I wanted to talk to you about, because it seems like a complete hidden gem that nobody knows about, and yet this whole science exists, and I can attest to the fact that it works.
Yeah,
Because a few years ago, when you notice that I'm breathing from the
from your
chest,
chest,
and actually my chest kind of was, my rib cage was expanded
expanded.
like beyond what it should
Yeah,
be. And then literally, like, we did it a couple of times, right? Not more
right.
than that.
2 or 3.
And my whole breathing went down,
Right.
and up till this point, which is like several years, it's still in that place, which is
Good.
completely it's incredible. I was thinking
Amazing.
about it today. I'm like, my God, just those three lessons, and the
Completely
whole
change your life. Yeah,
complete change, absolutely. And in that moment, I actually, I think I have that ability, not to talk about myself, but to kind of see things that are really precious
right.
and like pick them. So when you spoke to me about that, even
Back
that many
then.
years ago,
Yeah.
I was like, this is gold. I know it's gold. And the way, the passion that you had about it was incredible. I even told Yoni later, I'm like, she needs to do this. That's her calling. That's the
Yeah.
passion. We talk about passion a lot on this podcast. How people should kind of find their passion, because the passion will instruct the success. And you are incredibly successful with what you're doing. And I think the fact that you have so much passion for helping people, like, go through that process that you went through yourself. And you're right, as you were just saying, not just singers, anybody.
Literally anybody.
Like I was literally reading in your book, actually, that it even cures like disease, and like women's
Yeah.
problems, and
Mm-hmm.
like crazy things that you would never think.
Yeah.
um what is happening with this science at this point in
You mean
2023,
in with the development?
in general?
So Peter passed away 2.5 years ago. He was in his 80s. He had the Parkinson's disease, and he was very sick. Um, he was crazy about developing the science, and he was so giving and so generous with people, but somehow he didn't get a chance to deliver the information to the masses. And I'm honored now to kind of pick it up and do this fully with my audience. And the way it all started in 2018, mm, when I stopped working with my management, I was like, I really want to go on tour, and maybe I can put a tour together. So I asked my buddy Chaz Mason, do you want to come on tour with me? He's like, yeah, let's do this. And then in about 3 weeks, I called people that I did not know, knocked the doors, like all kinds of doors, and I booked 6 countries like that. And around those shows in 2018, um, that was the era where all this offline master classes, workshops kind of like started, kind of drawing the interest from the people. We arranged master classes in all of these countries, and the first stop was Moscow. It was my first
Offline, you're
time
saying, right?
offline. Um, I have not been back to Russia at that moment for 9 years.
How
And
did you
then
find it? How was it?
it was amazing, actually. I had no expectations, but when I came and I did my concert, it was amazing. It was sold out. And then I did masterclass the next day. I literally, like, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no structure. I had an idea that people would want to follow my experience and I would want to share something really precious and useful, right? Like tools, not just talk about, oh, this is great and this is right and this is wrong, but like actually give them the tools to use as singers to get better with like riffs and runs and all other things, because people really know that aspect of my skills, because like I love all this riffs and runs technology, and I've been digging through for like years and studying voices and the technique. So I remember that day I'm in front of 42 people that I've never seen before, and I talk about the body and the breath and sharing my story about biophonics. And I feel like that strong connection that I've developed with my audience actually came from that story, that I was so sick, and I got healthy in only 3 sessions. He changed my life in 3 sessions, and then my voice changed, my range, and then I started slowly sharing my story and then sharing the knowledge. And at that moment, I was like, not sure how to deliver that to that many people. By the way, like 3 months ago, I did my first big room of 1,300 people.
Oh,
And now I remember that whole like stretch, right? 42 people when I'm not like knowing what I'm doing. And this huge room, like I felt like Tony Robbins in a skirt. Like,
it's funny that you bring up Tony Robbins,
Yeah.
because as you're speaking, I'm thinking to myself, I usually have a crystal ball somewhere invisible.
Tell me. I want to know
You're
it all.
gonna be Tony Robbins of The Voice.
Cooper Robbins.
Yes, of The Voice.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm
another
not speaking
thing
about
that-
the program, about the
Yeah.
show, The Voice. But literally,
Yeah.
I see that for you. It's incredible, because I honestly, that's what I felt when I was reading about Goncharuk and Biophonics,
Like his method.
about your method. I literally felt like this is screaming. It needs to be
Spread
heard,
out.
spread out.
Yeah.
And people will respond to that
Yeah.
incredibly well. You definitely,
And, like, everything that-
1,300 is just the beginning.
Yeah. I hope that, but I really
What does he
enjoyed
do
it.
usually? 5,000, 10,000? What's his
10,000.
here we
Problem.
go.
We are very close.
Yeah.
I have to tell you. And it felt so real and it felt so easy. And the audience was following me so like closely.
Was it mainly singers or
Kids, parents, teachers. It was a singing contest where I was judging it. And as part of the contest and this whole festival week, it was a series of master classes, and I was one of the main speakers there. And I don't know if you remember back at your apartment when I just got to LA, I believe it was like 2012, 2013. I was so afraid of speaking.
I
I remember all of my shows. People were like crazy about my voice and my songs, but I had no idea what to do in between. I was so lost, and you were like putting me in front of the camera and like, okay, Cooper, answer my questions. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I feel like broken. I feel like something is really off. Like my leg is there in the corner. My right ear is somewhere like hanging off this roof, whatever. I remember that. So I was so afraid of like speaking. I had no idea. Like it was such a traumatic experience for me. But then
nobody's gonna believe us, by the way, because the way you're speaking now,
I know.
we
but
honestly should be before and after, because
no, you don't want to see them before. It's like shocking.
it's gonna inspire
But
people.
I remember myself like being so lost on stage in between of the songs, not knowing of how to speak to the audience. And now look at me now, like I'm teaching in 2 languages, rooms of like thousands of people. This is freaking crazy. That's the craziest thing ever. But what I want to say also about the voice and this whole development of biophonics, answering to a question,
Mm-hmm.
I teach voice in a very different way. I talk to people, and my philosophy of the voice is that the voice is the reflection of everything that happens in a human body on a physical level and
Amazing.
on a mental level too. So, like, the voice is the result of every single process that a human being is going through in his life, like on the physical level and also mental level, because singing is such a mental game. It's like, it's so brain oriented. It's about priorities in your brain. It's about how you think. It's about your strategy. It's about, obviously, like, we all different, right? And some gifted people are out there, they are born to be singers. But what I'm learning from my experience is that people who are winning truly in the industry, becoming names of the industry, as you know, are not the most talented singers.
Mm-hmm.
They are mentally so, like,
Strong.
strong, and the variety of thoughts and philosophies is so open. They are not just, they just, they're winning with the way they think about themselves in the process.
Right.
Because it's one thing to have a gift, right? Okay, I'm a great singer. I know that. How do I, like, what do I do with it, right? A lot of people don't know how to present the gift. And through going into your body, building the connection with your body, which Biophonics helps with so much, it brings awareness and understanding of this philosophy. So this human body and this human being can connect through the body, through the breath, through this breath correction, into that space where the most authentic voice is born. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's, I would go and say it's like acting, in a sense where, like, you actually wear a costume or wear a role, right? And you want to deliver. But also, like, this voice authentically is part of our every single thought and step of the way. It's like, it's very deep. And I feel like when you bringing that knowledge to people and you help them to connect through their body, through their breathing, to the authentic self, working with the voice, expressing yourself through your basically voice chakra, right? That helps them to really figure out what they want to do with this voice and who they are. Because every single time I was going to any label meeting, I was asked two questions, right? Who are you as an artist? And why do we need to sign you? And those two questions were throwing me, like, out. I was like, guys, like, you're spending time with me. I'm singing for you. Like, what do you mean, who am I as an artist? And back then I had no idea who I was. And this experience working with people, sharing my knowledge, sharing my experience, being so vulnerable with them, I feel like always as an artist, I was lacking that vulnerability. I was always trying to be somebody I was not, that kind of tough girl that can do anything and can conquer the world and prove that she's the fucking best one, right? But then in the reality, the vulnerability aspect was lacking really big time. And then working with people, reflecting on the experience and actually connecting with them, seeing that we are so similar in many ways and we can help each other to grow and actually see those flaws and turn them into something really beautiful, something really authentic and vulnerable, helped me as a human being to find my vulnerable artist. So now the place I'm in as an artist when I'm performing on stage is so freaking different. It helped me personally so much to rediscover myself.
So, as you were saying about the voice, I kept thinking it's so incredibly true because so many people dislike their voice when they hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wondered why. Like, what's the reasoning for that?
Oh, so many reasons. The first one comes from a childhood trauma. Somebody said something, like, especially in our culture we're coming from, um, our parents would want to keep us quiet. Oh, stop yelling, stop screaming. Why are you yelling for, right? Shut up, right? So that is kind of like get stuck in your head. even you don't remember. And it kind of shuts you down. Um, so many things. Teachers along the way who, oh, you have a good voice, but then your ear is not good enough, or like your memory, you have to develop that. And like belting's not your thing. It's not your, you shouldn't sing. You know, a lot of people, especially in post Soviet Union culture, would be so angry with themselves. Maybe it's a lack of experience or lack of um, success, kindness,
Confidence.
confidence, all of the above, where they would allow themselves to say, like, a child is coming to singing class that really wants to sing, and this teacher would listen to this child and would say, "Oh, you shouldn't be singing. Go dance." And those type of kids, I get them when they're 40 plus, and they all still live through this childhood dream, right? And they all want to sing, and especially during the pandemic, everybody got like, okay, what do I want to do now? What do I want to do with my life? Oh, maybe I should go back to my childhood dream and chase it again. So a lot of the people with absolutely no musicality, like no musical education, started reaching out and say, I would love to develop my voice. I've been always dreaming about like having singing lessons, and I feel like now is the time. I'm already successful. I'm a lawyer, or I'm a banker, or I'm a doctor, but like this calling of mine is still there. Like I really want to do it. I want to, and a lot of people actually went through my online courses. I've created a course in 2020, in the peak of the pandemic. I was just sitting on the balcony. I was like, okay, what if I can travel, right? I cannot do master classes, and I've done dozens of master classes at that point, and I went to maybe 5 or 7 countries. Now it's 40 plus. Thank God I'm teaching in English and in Russian,
Amazing.
which I'm really happy about, and continuing on my journey, picking countries. I'm like, okay, where do I want to go next? I think next one is going to be Barcelona. I have
Yeah.
not been there. Let's do a masterclass there. That's how it works. It's really fun. So I just like look at the map and I'm like,
Amazing.
I really want to travel to this destination. And I always know that in this place, in this part of the world, I will always have my students who went through my program, because it got really huge. It was over 20,000 people went through
Wow.
this program in just 1 year. And it was very unexpected for me, because I was just sitting on the balcony. I was like, maybe people need some sort of like online course training, but I was not believing that this would work. And then the way it started, me and my friend actually came up with this idea. We decided to kind of like create a course. We called it Marathon,
Mm-hmm.
Riffs and Runs Marathon. And I already had a structure that I was teaching, and it worked perfectly for all kinds of different people, magically. I was like, okay, let's have fun. Maybe we'll do it once and see if people will get a result. And then we had 200 people the first round. The course was going for a month. And every 3 days, they were getting audio files with my explanation, theory, and 1 or 2 exercises. And after 30 days, I was listening to those people who came. I was shocked.
Wow.
I was like, I cannot believe that these people had no idea how to riff and run 30 days ago. I was shocked, and we started doing those courses continuously, 1 or 2 a month. And this whole thing was going for about a year and a half, 2 years. And a lot of the people got this training and got so much better with just finding their authentic voice. And we got a lot of these type of doctors and lawyers and people who want to be singers, who kind of cured their childhood trauma. And I feel like the part that you said about like disliking your voice, it's not about the voice itself. It's about, I'm going to say cheesy thing right now, loving yourself, accepting yourself for who you are, and really respecting your boundaries. Because a lot of the singers, even myself, when I started, I was like listening back to my recordings in the studio. I'm like, ew, kind of like, oh, because at some point we are not able to open up for ourselves and really be honest. And I'm going to say it again, vulnerable. We're trying to be artists, but we're not vulnerable enough sometimes with ourselves, not honest enough of how we want to sing and what we want to sing. There's a lot of wrong conclusion in our mind that we live through, and we kind of carry that around thinking that this is the right thing to do. because somebody like 20 years ago told us something that, oh, you shouldn't be a singer because you don't have what it takes, right?
Isn't
But
it
then
an ironic paradox that what connects us is actually that
the trauma.
vulnerability that we're
Yeah,
constantly trying to guard?
exactly. It's the pain. It's the pain of that rejection. And what I teach to my students all the time, and it's a lot of motivation behind the actual technique and the method. We talk a lot, right? Because I feel like every single singer and artist, on top of having voice coach, performance coach, like ear training, and all of these amazing, important things, should have a therapist, right? This culture is very like into therapy, but like now just Russia, Ukraine, and all of these post-Soviet Union countries, they're just starting to rediscover that, passion for learning of who are we and like why are we doing this for. And then the pandemic actually helped to push that.
I think it really did because it was interesting for me because right before the pandemic, sometimes you like going through life and you're kind of like just going and going and going. You don't have a time to stop. And I was thinking, I was literally like asking, I'm like, I just need to stop. I need to stop and kind of just breathe out and
Exactly.
reflect. And when the pandemic started, I was like, oh my God, someone hurt me.
Ah, oh my
Because
God.
it was really the moment when the whole world just stopped.
Exactly.
It was so quiet and so amazing. And I think for a lot of people, it was like that.
And scary
because
at the same time
scary
because
for sure. But
we
it's
did
that,
not know what the next cycle will be. And that really scared me and made me feel that I've been, before the pandemic, doing so many things that I did not want or needed to do.
but that's a good thing that the
Yeah,
opportunity was
yeah,
awarded to just say, okay, maybe not
I
that anymore.
reevaluated so many things because I was doing everything. And then I sat down and I was like, not doing gigs anymore, not doing weddings, not performing at the piano bars. I'm not taking those gigs. No, thank you. What do I want to do? I want to focus on developing education because I'm so passionate about it. I
You
can
are. I mean,
talk for hours and I love seeing the result of my work and that connection with people, knowing that you changed something, you tweaked something on that very deep level, keeps me up at night. It makes me feel like, it keeps me up at night in a way I'm so excited I can't sleep. I'm like, I changed somebody's life in a way, I touched somebody's life, and I'm so proud to be part, I'm so honored to be on that path.
well, you're almost like a part of some alchemy, like what you do, because it's an incredible thing where with I mean, I want to say pretty simple exercises or some tweaks and
Mm-hmm.
things, your whole body changes. And
Simplicity is key. People think uh, the phrase that the idea that I share at my master classes, like recently, my tour, I just got back from 2 months of touring Europe. I was sharing that thought. It just came out of blue in the moment. I remember in Austria or somewhere, somebody like asked about Celine Dion's technique and Mariah, and then somebody hit me and I said, do you guys know what's actually separating you from them? Not the fact that they're so much better and they just one of a kind. They are one of a kind. But you guys are thinking that you don't know something that they do. But then in the actuality, they do so much less than you're trying to do. You're singing with so much tension, you're doing so much extra stuff that you don't need to do. So you don't even know how to come through this and cut that bridge to get to that level of singing because you're not so like in touch with your body. You're doing way too much. You're trying too hard to sing. It's work to you. And for them, it's just pure enjoyment. You have to learn how to create that sense in your body where while you're singing, you just like breathing. It's so natural to you.
what you're
Like you're
saying
not doing anything.
is absolutely incredible because it applies to absolutely everything in life.
Yeah.
Any path that you take, I'm listening to you speaking about singing, about
Yeah.
music, but I can apply that to absolutely everything that
True.
people do. Any kind of creative field, not creative field. I mean, we actually spoke with Yoni about creativity and kind of like realized, but I guess we knew that everything is creative because everything is creation. So it doesn't matter.
Everything is pure energy and energy has to flow somewhere, right?
Exactly. And it seems so obvious and yet so not. And when we speak about this
Uh-huh.
in such simple terms, and that's what I was saying, I was laughing when I was reading your book, thinking it's incredible how much time we spend on the most important things like breathing,
Yeah.
like our body, tuning in, just connecting with it, and just really flowing.
Yep.
And so much time we spend on exactly what you're saying right now, trying,
Overthinking.
overthinking,
Yeah.
trying to do more,
Overdoing.
overdoing.
Where in actuality we need to do less and figure out how to scale it down. And I feel like those huge singers, they are winning because they figured that out. They figured themselves out and who they are in the sense of connecting with their body and their breath. Everything is so natural. Everything is so simple. We tend to overthink everything as singers. And that's why therapy, again, going back to this whole study, really helps people to get in touch with themselves on a very deep level, human being level. And it helps to create that character because we live in the era of amazing stories and characters. And people have such a short attention span. They either connect with you, sometimes you listen to a singer and she, whatever, he is flawless. Technique is amazing. And you listen to one song and you're like, okay, that was great, sweet. And then you want to go somewhere else. And there, on the other hand, you hear an artist who's not the perfect singer, but there's something real happens in this moment when he or she sings, where you like get the fact that this is not perfect, but this is pure, raw art, and you want to stay connected. You're mesmerized. So I feel like the technique and the philosophy and training, mental training and physical vocal training should connect in that middle, bringing this perfectionist and this emotional human being together. That's where the real, true, authentic artist is created.
I want people to understand because I think it's amazing. Um, your prior experience is, if I may, but you correct
Yeah,
me
of
if I'm
course.
wrong, was kind of about chasing that perfection.
Oh, yeah. I was all about the notes and the riffs and impressing people with how great I am technically.
And
I
where
thought
you are
that's the goal.
and where you're now is like a completely different, amazing place. And I think it's such a showcase of what we all talk about here, which is, yes, it's all about that path. It's all about
It's
that
all about that path
process
and
where
letting
it doesn't
go.
matter where you start and what you think. It's the process of, those bumps on the road and
Exactly.
this
How
move.
crazy is that we train to get more control in singing, to actually get rid of all of the control? Because where you are trying to be in the control while you're singing, people can sense that. People not connecting with you when you're trying to sing hard and prove something through your singing. So that's why therapy, again, is what we all need. And then I'm so grateful to be part of this whole journey of vocal teacher, and this whole education movement really moved me to find myself, because I did not know who I was as an artist. I thought I knew, and I was like, why are all these crazy people asking me the same question? Like, who are you as an artist? I'm like, don't you see that I'm great? I can sing and whatever. But then there was no connection because I was not connected with myself. I was running away from the very deep questions that I was not, I was afraid to ask those questions at the time. I was like, I'm not ready. But I thought I'm cool, cool for school. But yeah, it's just a journey. And then I'm so passionate about teaching, and I see those people at the master classes, and they all come and they have all kinds of different questions. And honestly, I've been doing it for 7 years. I went to 40 plus countries, and I've worked with over 40,000 singers. And every single masterclass is so different. I'm a different person every single time. I'm preaching differently. And every single time I hear new questions. It's crazy. And singing is so incredibly deep and complicated. You can perfect it. And there's no place where you would stop. You wouldn't say, oh, now I'm perfect. You would always go deeper, layer by layer. It's crazy how it's so unique, and seeing all these people follow my philosophy and listening to what I say. And also another thing, um, I feel a very big responsibility to deliver on that singing level too, because I always wanted personally to learn from people who sing better than me. And a lot of the coaches that I worked with personally, they could not demonstrate in a way that I would be like, oh my God, shoot, like his sound or her sound is just, wow, it's amazing. I want to sound just like this person. And with Riffs and Runs, because it's such my type of vibe, and this is me, right? Every single time, I'm very convincing because I know how to do this. And people sort of kind of like look up to me and they want to do the same. That's why I feel like if I'm going to start selling panties saying Riffs and Runs, people will be like, you're going to buy
They
anything
should
from
definitely
Cooper.
do merch, 100%.
Yeah, so I feel like, but obviously it was not given to me. This trust, this loyalty was not given to me. It was a very hard work, and now it's just now trying to start paying back.
But I always thought that should be the case with any kind of teaching. And it was always interesting to me. There are literally some concepts which I'm like thinking to myself, not understanding why they are the way they are. And then other people start asking the same questions. I'm like, I was wondering the same thing for a while. It's like with teaching. A lot of people teach things
Right.
that they have not done themselves.
Okay.
People in universities teach economy and business, but they've never actually had a business or run a business. People teach, let's say music, but they're not necessarily singers.
Everything starts with an intention. If the intention is there, the philosophy is right, and it might help somebody, then it could be helpful, even if the person is not, let's say, the greatest singer. But then we all can impact different people. Sometimes I could say something to my students that they've heard before so many times, right? But when I said it in this moment, only in that moment, they were ready to hear that from me. It kind of just like the puzzle, right? It was just the right moment, the right sentence, and they were ready. That thought kind of marinated in them for such a long time. So my comment kind of like completed that puzzle, That's how it is in life. That's why I'm saying that there's no perfect method. And I'm not greedy when it comes to students. I work with all kinds of people, and there's so many different vocal techniques and methods everywhere in the world. Amazing methods, right? And every single vocal technique has its audience, and it's okay. I'm okay with that. And I feel like we should learn from everybody because we're all human. We have incredible knowledge. And then one sentence, one word, one idea can actually push you to the next level. Why not to learn from everybody? Because something will get inside of your system. Something won't, right? Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe it's not for you. We're all so different. The science of voice is the science of mind. It's purely mental because we're all changing. Our voice is changing entire life, right? Our whole mental, what we're going through as human beings, our relationship, everything influences our voice. And our voice is the result of everything that happens with us. So I feel like people who worked through their trauma, really figured out who they are and what they want to do with their gift, those are who are winning and creating incredible trends, music, putting their soul into something incredible, no matter what it is, songs, ideas, products, projects. They're connecting because they are truly connected with themselves, and they really know. And for me, like in my situation, right, with my story, I feel like my true story speaks to people so much. So they want to touch that. They want to touch the magic because what happened to me was magical. Only in 3 sessions of practicing this unknown method, Biophonics, oh my God, right? I had no idea. Did not trust that. I've tried so many things before. I'm like, no, this is definitely not going to help me. I was hopeless at that point.
But I think what's and I'm not a singer, and I know nothing about singing techniques and things like that. But I think what's incredible about this specific science is that not only it works for singers, it works for everybody else. But more so, you see the result right away. And I think that's the selling point. I mean, if I may, of this whole thing, because it's not something that you have to have 55 sessions and maybe at the end of it you'll
Right.
see some sort of result. You literally see the transformation right there and then. And like, what other proof do you need? You know,
Right. But not a lot of people, not everybody are ready to meet with themselves like
I like
that.
that. I like that.
It's very deep, it's very mental, and not a lot of people are ready to face themselves inside, you know? But yeah, a lot of people who come to me, singers, they have issues with breath. And they're like, we cannot hit those high notes. Can you help us? And then we go deep into the studying of the body. And then I've studied so for so many years, I've studied different styles of massages, all kinds of physical therapy techniques. So I fix people's bodies first. When they come to me, I help them to get and reach perfect alignment because our resonance, the way we sound, the way our voice is expressing, starts from your body alignment. It's purely in our bodies first. Then breathing correction method, which is the core of this method, is biophonics. But the way I deliver it is very simple. I just show it and I make people feel it because a lot of people are like, how do you do this riff? I'm like, the way I feel about it is not going to be the same the way you're going to feel about it. So instead of thinking, okay, how do I do this? How did I do this? What does it make me feel?
Hmm.
How do I connect this feeling and this sensation in my body, in my ear, in my vocal cords? How do I feel? What do I feel about it? Then, you know what happens after? Then they go away and they have a skill. They now know how it feels like, what it feels like. And then they can achieve the same result without me there. And I feel like the best vocal coach and the best coach is where like you give the tools and you say, you have here, take it, bye. See you later.
Well, in a way, there is no other way because you cannot put your experience into someone
Absolutely
else's
not. And we
body.
all are the architects of our own voice. And all of the insights and all the techniques, the most incredible ideas that I can get and share with my students was not taught to me. It was like a rediscovery. It was in the moment where I was like, what was just happened? Oh my God. Wow. And then you just get that insight in the moment when you're not expecting anything. And you're like, oh my God, what if? And you start like, it's like creativity, like what you were
Yeah,
talking about, the expression and like being passionate about it really helps because until you're truly satisfied and fulfilled inside, you won't stop. It's not like you have to do it because somebody is waiting for it. It's just for you, you know? You're
right.
choosing you in the moment and you're free to do whatever. You're free to, you know, do anything with it, pretty much.
For someone who is not a musician, what would you say? What like, I don't know, 3 tools can you give for someone to experience, explore their body and their voice just for life?
First, breathe through your nose only. Your nose is in the most amazing system that's created up there. So it actually, through the hair inside of our nostrils, can filter the bacteria. Then it gives you the hydration and it warms up the air. Let's say we like in the warm environment and we go outside, it's like minus like 30 Celsius. You breathe in and you don't feel the cold. That's what your nose can do.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe through your nose. Second tool, second thing, do not rush. You always want to slow yourself down. Even with singers, they want to do riffs and runs and they think, oh my God, it's so fast. Let me do it fast. The main rule for riffs and runs, guys, write it down. Diva has to be late. You always have to be later. Diva has to be late. That's the rule. So with your breath, it's the main instrument for your voice. It's kind of the core of your voice. That's the breath. So you always want to slow yourself down. Like, you know how you do meditation?
Mm-hmm.
They say, take your deep inhale, blah, 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 slow it down. So we all such in a rush to live. We think in order to succeed, we need to like do this and that. So our focus is very like wide open. We're not centered.
This is brilliant. So true.
And really, in order to conquer your breath and conquer your inner happiness, happiness of your inner child, your balance, and all we all human beings are striving for, is you have to slow yourself down. Not like trying to be in this meditative state all the time, but actually enjoy every single moment of it. Like your breath is a cycle, and you really want to experience and like kind of like draw a picture in your mind of like how slow you can go. That was 2. And 3, let me think.
Something like with the body, because I
With the
feel,
body,
well, I feel that everybody is so focused on their mind and trying to
right.
fix the mind.
What
And
I
then it
would say,
becomes, fixing the mind becomes the problem because
yeah,
everybody is so in their mind. I feel for a lot of people, actually taking care of the body
body is
helps.
number one thing. And then more flexibility and stretching and warmness you get in your body, more flexible your vocal agility is. So all the crazy stuff that Riffs and Runs can do comes from flexibility. So that's why I'm like, if you are a singer, go take Pilates, stretching classes, dance, work on your coordination, because your body is another language of expression, and your body can help your voice to blossom even more. So yeah, definitely body is was given to us. We have it. We need to take care of this first. And then the voice is the result of everything that we experience with our body, you know? And then yeah, rushing is was my number 2, but it's I will bring that attention again to this because we are rushing through our lives. We are trying to be quick and we're trying to get a lot of things done at the same time. And it is possible, but slowing yourself down, it's so important because it brings a different quality of breath. So it brings the different quality of life and mentality. And happiness comes with it also because you're so fulfilled and you can actually, you're overflowing. Your energy is overflowing. You're like this cup of coffee, but you're so full. So at some point you're overflowing. So you want to give it to somebody else. You know, it's an incredible feeling where you can actually give. And I'm such a giver. Like I'm horrible with like taking. I'm like not really know how to accept. I'm learning how to accept more. I'm such a giving person in my core. And it brings me so much fulfillment because through teaching and through expressing my knowledge and sharing my knowledge, I'm able to get back that impact that I see and that gratitude that I see and the result that I see and the quality of the tone and the singers and just people who I meet in my life everywhere I go really changes the way I feel about myself. So I'm reflecting on that so much.
Tell me, that 10, 11-year-old girl that
Oh,
came to study singing and, I'm sure had aspirations and, wanted the success. Knowing everything that you know now,
mm,
what advice would you give her?
mm. I feel like throughout this whole journey that I had, the hardest thing for me was to figure out how to stay true to myself because I did not know who I was first. And then all other people and situations in my life and circumstances were not the best influences sometimes. And sometimes I was losing the touch with my core, literally like losing touch with my core and myself. So the advice and then what would be helpful for her, I guess never look back. That's the first thing. Always like look forward, take more risk. And I'm such a risky person. I would bet everything I have, but I know it's like such an amazing thing to risk because it's powerful. Risking is
It is
powerful.
powerful, I agree.
Take more risks, be more like reckless and fearless, and stay true to yourself. Like really figure out what makes you feel happy. Who makes you feel happy? Because sometimes we surround ourselves with people that we think are good for us, but they're not so much. And then we getting hurt, and then we, you know, touch the bottom, and then
Mm-hmm.
we waiting until somebody will knock from the bottom and say, "It's time to get up. Push now. It's time." So
Sometimes the bottom is the best place because there is nowhere
at
else
that
to
time, we're in
go.
the bottom. We don't think that. Usually, we don't think that. We're waiting on that knock. But I guess another thing that I would say, understanding of that being grateful, I've heard so many times very smart people saying, you have to wake up in the morning feeling grateful for what you have, and like always say that I'm so grateful for what I have. But honestly, what I've learned through my experience, and I'm very grateful, truly, I can say that now, for all of the failures, for all of the bad decisions, for everything that has happened throughout this path and will happen in the future, because we're not perfect, we're not
Of course.
angels, we're living through this experience, and karma is everywhere, right? So we all going through this experience. But I feel like one day I woke up, I remember that day. It was not like a set of any type of events. It was not a chain of events. It was just one day. That day came, and I just woke up. It was the random day, and I felt grateful. I felt it. And then I realized, so no matter how much I would talk to my people, to my students, you have to be grateful for your gift. You have to do this, until this person wakes up with this feeling of, I feel I'm grateful. You can never give that. You can never teach that. You can never teach kindness. You can never teach being grateful. I feel like we're all going through all this turmoil and crazy stuff in our lives and good stuff to really learn more about who we are, to get to this place where we wake up one day and we're grateful. This gratitude is the most incredible feeling. To me, gratitude is on the same level with love. To me, like, it was such a huge transformation that I put myself through when I actually experienced that gratitude for the first time.
Well, isn't it love?
It's all connected. It's love. It's,
Gratitude and love to me, even though, they're two separate words, but in a
yeah,
way it's one and the same.
yes. It's all deeply connected because one is
One
kind of
is the
like,
other and the other is the
yes,
one.
yes, absolutely. And there's so many different ways of expressing and receiving love. There's self-love, right? There's love for our families. There's love for the world. There's love for God and for like ideology or like all kinds of stuff. But the human voice, can express that. And sometimes people who are not perfect singers, but they would be so connected with this gratitude and that love. So we would feel that.
I think that's exactly what it is, because
It's exactly what it
we
is.
we connect on the level that we don't
On
really
that frequency that we cannot logically
Yeah.
explain why, but we feel it because we all can feel. That's
And-
what connects us all. The
And
feeling.
a lot of times it's the people that's, objectively speaking, are not the best singers. It's
Exactly.
true. And yet you connect so
It's
much.
all about the energy. Energy is so powerful and you can never teach that. Only this human being who works on this energy and go through therapy and connects with this deep self can share that particular energy that would be very catching, right? So you will be like, I don't know what's magical about this artist. Technically, it's not perfect, but it is a perfection to me because I cannot wait to continue to hear this voice or these songs. But something very epic, something very real is happening. So I want to be part of this energy because it's all the exchange.
And sometimes it's not even singers. Sometimes you just
Yeah.
love listening to people
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes at my workshops, I feel like people want to hear more of my singing, but then I just talk for hours and they would ask me a question at the end. I'm like, okay, we have 10 minutes. Any questions? And people would be like, instead of asking about like technology behind the voice or, technique, they would be like, what was the first memory of you like when you felt like you got this? Like they would be asking me such a motivation, like, like stuff that life,
Inspiring.
inspiring. And I could, start, the faucet is open, right? The water is running. And I'm like, my assistant's like, hey, it's been an hour. We have to be out of here. Oh, it's been an hour. Oh, it felt like 10 minutes. I'm sorry. But these moments are so important. It's not the actual technique. And okay, you have to breathe certain way. You have to like placement and agility and like, it's not that. It's that connection after. Because people connect with another human.
100%.
They all want to feel that we're connected, we're related. We have the same pain, we have the same grief, we have the same happiness, we have the same inspiration, So I feel like that's why it really changed me. This whole experience of like traveling the world, meeting with all kinds of different cultures and languages, and like knowing that I thought in the very beginning that I'm Russian and I would, I came to America at the age of 19 and I went through this whole turmoil and experience with labels and this was good, this was shit. And then now I can share with my audience, with my culture. But then the first time I taught in Dubai, actually in front of a vocal conference, in front of like people from Arabic Emirates and India. And then I went to Finland and then Paris and I taught in English. And I was like, how incredible it is that we all have the same pain, the same feelings, no matter where we're coming from. We all need this. And it's not just about the voice. It's not about riffs and runs or just the breath or the connection of the body. It's about how do we find a way, the most productive way of living happily through our voices? How do we express ourselves where we happy and we're doing what we love and we love what we do, you know?
How do you define success now for yourself, having had all those experiences and having gone through so many different things?
I never thought of it. Success. I feel like I love working with little kids. And when I see them, I talk to them like I would talk to an adult and they understand my
I
language.
think that's the best way to talk to kids.
And when I see that transformation in that moment, seeing them changing, improving, I'm not talking just vocally, I'm talking their mentality, the way they think about themselves in this profession. To me, that's success. I feel like, oh my God, I lived this day and it was a successful day because I touched somebody so deeply. So this human being will have such a huge like jump. But on a personal level, I feel like we're successful when we can work only when we want to work. Not like we're working for somebody and we have certain hours we have to get up every day and work for somebody, chasing somebody else's ideas. I feel like success truly lays in this frame of being doing happily what you love the time that you want. Nobody's telling you what to do. Nobody's telling you how to do it, when to do this. You just can sleep, you can get up, you can eat, you can create something. And then another thing that I want to share, I just went to Vienna's Opera House a month ago. And it was a dream of mine since I was 2 years old because I grew up in opera house. So I always wanted to attend Vienna's opera. It was like a mecca for me for many, many years. And then I got so inspired by this whole experience. Oh my God, it was amazing. So I left there and me and my assistant are walking back to our hotel. And I'm like, oh my God, I have this incredible idea. I have this new idea that I think people really need. Because I feel like all the contemporary singers, pop singers, they don't go through proper training. I'm an instrumentalist. I'm a piano player first, right? So I know the classical music. What if I would take classical music and I would create certain riffs and runs exercises from the most epic classical pieces? And I'm going to help those contemporary people who did not go through this training connect on a deeper level with music. And now they not only going to practice the most incredibly challenging melodies, now they're going to know the actual music. And it was Mozart, Figaro.
Nice.
And there's like a beginning there. Ah, ah, ah. It's like really challenging melody. I was like, I'm going to create an exercise from that. And so I have an idea. So to me, that's success. When you actually so inspired, so you can actually create something that will be so beneficial for others. And you wouldn't do it to make money. Like I've never thought, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. My lesson is going to be like super expensive. I'm going to make this much an hour and I'm going to put out in like a masterclass and people will buy tickets and I'm going to make millions. It was never a thought like that, ever. With my singing career, there was always like chasing that fame so I can make more money. And it doesn't work. Only true purpose, true calling, when you're actually so passionate about it and you create for people, works, and then you have this financial overflow. You're successful when you have value for other people. So by bringing value and bringing these creative ideas, that's what means like that success to me.
From your maybe recent travels or just in general, anything that truly inspired you outside of the musical world? Something that you saw or experienced that brought a true inspiration?
Well, I'm into dancing right now. About 2 years ago, my friend invited me to take heel classes in school in Melrose Playground, LA. And for me, I was really sad about that I had to quit dancing as a kid. I was little baby ballerina, but when I got diagnosed with my asthma, I started gaining weight from all the steroids I was, taking. So all the girls and the boys in class started calling me fat. I was a very skinny girl, but I was a little bigger for ballet than others. So I quit. And it was the biggest regret of my life. I miss dancing so much. Even though I grew up in the musical family, I always was so much more drawn to dance. And then I remember the first class I took, it was heels beginner. I felt hopeless. I came back the next week on Monday, and I took two classes, the beginner and the advanced. And the advanced combos, all of the dancers, by the way, they're all so professional. They do it for years, and they all had the knee pads, and I did not have the knee pads. And I was struggling to the point I'm like, I'm hopeless. It's not going to work. But then somehow I kind of started coming back consistently, and I started getting really, really good. And this whole experience of dancing and this community of girls and this consistency of, you know, working my body and expressing my even like sexual energy through my body and my creative and my musicality through my body, because I I forgot how much I love to dance. And this brought back this inner child who quit dancing and was so sad about it. Now I'm like, actually, yesterday was the most epic night because after a year and a half of taking this advanced class, only for the first time, I was able to go through this entire combo with no mistakes and actually filmed it. And it was such a small thing, right? But it's such a big win for me because I was always so like scared to showcase my body, to express my body, but it actually helped me to sing better because that kind of looseness, or how would I say that? That freedom in the body, that expression
Flexibility.
in the body allowed me to rediscover myself. And now my singing and the way I write my songs and the way I teach, the way I express my voice in front of people I don't know, it is so different. So dance helped me to connect with myself on much deeper level too. So that what inspires me the most right now. And I love the fact that I actually did not stop going there, even when I felt, oh no, it's never going to be good enough. Look at all these girls, they're just amazing. But now I feel like I'm one of the best in this
That's
class.
awesome.
And I'm like, wow, it's crazy how much I enjoy the moment when I dance, when people look at me and I'm just in my element. It's crazy.
It's incredible. I just want to bring it back to for a moment to Biophonics. You mentioned that the person who created it is no longer
Mm.
here. He deceased. What is gonna happen with this science, you think?
I will continue to spread the knowledge. I will
How known
continue.
is it in general, like in the post-Soviet sort of,
Oh, it is well known there. Like all
but
of these,
not so much in the world?
no, because I'm just starting teaching in English. And I brought this knowledge to Austria, Greece, um, Germany, Czech Republic, Dubai, um, what else? Finland. And a lot of people kind of familiar with the idea of deep abdominal breathing and pelvic floor muscles. People are really digging, but his structure is so incredible that it gives you all the tools from A
Mm.
to Z. It gives you like the layout of how to get it done and how to um, restructure your breath. So the reason I say restructure, because we all have a habit of breathing the way we're breathing, right? And when we're born, when we're infants, we have the most amazing, the most pure way of breath. If you look at the little baby infant, you'll see only that, the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
3 fingers down belly button will just move. You will never see opening up. the rib cage or expanding the chest. So basically, what the science is teaching us is how to go back to basics, those amazing goddess settings. How do we bring it back? So it's not like, oh, come to me, I'll teach you how to breathe in a different way. No, I'm going to help you to rediscover that most pure, authentic way of breathing. But you know that. We all know that. We're going back to basics. We're learning how to be just better, how to perfect what we already know. And this is amazing. It is very transformative, transformational. Helps with your digestive system, with your physical activity. Like people, I train a lot of dancers and athletes too, just for fun. And those people who have a lot of physical activities, they like, oh my God, I took one class, I did this training. And I'm like, why am I not getting tired?
Mhm.
There's so much endurance. There's so much strength that comes with it, you know, not only mentally, obviously, because mentally it is hard to breathe this way because we're all different. And the way I would explain that and teach every single person will differ. It's kind of just, you never know. You have to evaluate the breath of today and help this person to find more perfect way to do it.
But anybody can do it, or
Anybody can do it up until 45. After 45, our breathing cycle is so firm, so it is really hard to change it. The easiest way to teach the science of biophonics is definitely for kids
of course, the
before
younger
12
the
years
better.
old, because they're still forming that um, breathing habit. So it's easy. And I'll tell you more. If we have a group of kids with some sort of asthma or any type of breathing related diseases, but still forming, right? Not sick. And we would give that knowledge to them at the age when they're teenagers going through puberty. Those will be successful, long living, healthy people.
Wow.
Yeah. They won't develop the diseases that they would if they wouldn't know that. Also, stuttering, another big thing. I've never worked with this issue before, but I know that Peter helped thousands of people with stuttering who stuttered and had issues with their breath. And through the science of biophonics, he was able to help them and they stopped stutter. And they just became absolutely healthy, normal, and their speech was just flawless.
And the book is still only in Russian, right?
Yes,
His book.
that's correct. Yes. It's 400 pages. It's going to
Wow.
take me a second to translate it, but I'm thinking about it. There's so much going on. Riffs and Runs, tours, music, concerts. I'm pursuing 5 lives at the same time. I'm not a mom yet, okay? But I still have five lives. Between performing, writing new songs, I'm also vocal producing other artists and writing for other artists. I love being in the studio. Then traveling with offline workshops to different countries, organizing it completely on my own because I have an amazing team of people that I hire and work with, but I don't have anybody with a magic tool saying, "Okay, Cooper, you're going now to Barcelona." I'm like researching, I'm reaching out to people, spreading the word about what I do and trying to I'm taking a lot of risks. The reason I love this era of my life because I allow this little girl to be its full risk because I know it's gonna pay off. It's not for me. It's not about money. A lot of people would think like, oh, she's doing really great. She's selling like huge like arenas now, and like she's probably like, but what makes me feel rich in my heart is the quality of people that I'm meeting, and the experience is pushing me out of my comfort zone every single time because I don't know what's gonna happen in this country. I don't know. I have not been to Spain. Let's say I'm going in May of 2024. And for me, it's like I love challenges. And like more and more risk I take, better quality result I get on a personal level. It's like developing my own self through taking risks for others. I don't know how to explain that.
It's amazing though. It's amazing. You're kind of channeling almost through other people.
Yeah, I love it. It gives me so much growth. And when it comes from this place of sincerity, it is the most successful financially, always.
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 Yeah.
Always. It's we always say that, and then I don't know if Like people get it, but through experience, everybody gets it.
Yes.
Like
Only
anybody
through
who
experience.
had that
You
experience.
can
like,
have an idea. I always say, no matter how much I talk about this chocolate ice cream, how greatly it tastes, until you really taste it, you're not going to know what it is. You
I
know?
agree.
Yeah. So that's the same way with purpose and callings and money and financial growth and energy exchange and overflow and experiences. But the craziest thing is that by giving that knowledge and opening up my vulnerable heart to all these people, I'm actually learning so much from them. They are my teachers. So it's all flipped, right? They think, oh, we're gonna go study from her, but actually, I'm learning from you guys.
No. It's incredible. It's so true, and it's always like that with everybody in
With
our
everything,
life.
with everything.
Absolutely everything. I became a mom recently, and I tell people,
Congratulations.
thank you. You already know that.
Yeah.
But
My favorite human.
I tell people,
Hopefully, I'm his favorite too.
you pretty
Yeah.
much are. But I tell people he's my teacher.
Yeah.
And I can see that a lot of people look at me weird. I'm like, you're not getting it, you
Yeah.
know? But it is the experience for me. He's really is my teacher way more than I'm his.
That's
So
so
I
interesting.
understand really.
I really get it.
I understand very well, especially you're working with kids. I
Yeah.
bet that you get so much
Oh my God, yeah.
from.
You can never fake anything with them. They can see through you. And if you have a slight intention that is not 100% to give, they wouldn't connect with you at all. They wouldn't trust you. I feel like the most important thing between a teacher, especially the voice, such a sacred instrument, right? So it's such a personal, intimate almost thing for a lot of people. And for kids, I'm learning from kids a lot about sincerity and honesty, right? Because there's a lot of teachers that would say, oh, you're so good, just to kind of like cheer you up and make you kind of lift you up.
Right.
But then I'm such a hardcore in the middle. I feel like it's such a precious thing to tell people the truth.
Well, I think with kids you can't do otherwise because they're
They can
literally
see
like
through you.
X-rays.
They can see through
You
you
know?
and they know exactly. If you're treating them like little kids, they won't open up.
Yeah.
Only if it's like one-on-one, respectful, like partnership, then it's the great result.
Again, a lot of times people don't get it, but from the very beginning, I was looking at my baby and I could see that he's literally X-raying me. And
Amazing.
you become better.
Right.
Because you see so much in yourself through,
Of course.
you know?
Absolutely.
And the more you hang out with kids, I feel the more.
That's my favorite audience. Like in my class, like 70% of my class, online class that I teach privates every day, starting at 8 a.m. because a lot of my clients are in
on the
Europe.
other side of the, yeah.
So I have to get up at like 7 a.m. every single day. And I love it. I'm getting up every single day, not like, oh my God, I'm like, oh my God, who do I have today? Oh, it's Milana. Amazing. And like, whatever,
That's
right?
awesome.
And then I'm just so inspired to get up in the morning because I love what I do so much. And every single day I'm like, I don't want to just give a routine just to kind of like check mark it. I really want to learn from this girl or boy because I really want to experience that with them today. And it's such a different way of thinking. And then a lot of people don't think this way. And a lot of people like, oh, teaching is so hard. We're like underpaid and whatever. But I'm like, you have to love people so much to be able to give.
Oh, 100%, especially with teaching. It's
yeah. And it's amazing how we learn from our students and they're learning. We all learn from each other. It's amazing.
I think all humans.
Yeah.
We're learning from each other as we're sitting here.
Of course.
You know? And
it's definitely an exchange. I feel like if it's an honest conversation and it's creative and it's in this moment, then it's an exchange for real. And it's definitely huge growth on both sides.
100%. Yeah. Cooper, a true pleasure.
Oh.
So I was sitting right there listening to the conversation, and I had chills because I remember you when we just met the first time in Coffee Bean, right?
Yeah.
On Sunset
on
and Vine.
Sunset.
And to see how much you grew, not just career-wise, but also mentally and a lot of things you said, because, you're very busy. We're very busy. And we see each other like every 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So we don't really usually talk about stuff like that. But a lot of phrases you said, I'm resonating with them. And
amazing.
they're part of that channel and part of my life and Katya's life, and it's very. I can see that they mean truth for you. That you don't just say them.
Yeah.
So
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been through a lot these last few years, like we all, right?
Yeah.
Hustling, chasing dreams, learning, experimenting with life, taking risks. So it means a lot coming from you because you were the first people who actually like discovered me, basically, believed in me, and pushed me to the next level. I'm forever grateful for that. I'm, just very humbled and very happy that after so many years of, having different lives, we still can get together and be feeling like we have not been apart for that long, It feels amazing.
somehow spontaneously, I don't even know how.
Yeah,
This red
exactly.
guitar ended up on me.
Flew in
Yeah.
in this frame.
And I was wondering, maybe you want to do a song together? You want to sing something today?
Yeah.
Which song would you like to sing?
Of course, Walk a Mile.
Walk a Mile.
Yeah.
We wrote it with Sandofu and you
2014, I believe.
2013.
13. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's almost 11 years ago. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. One of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Same. Let's do this. We used to sleep on the subway right until the sun came up to rock away on the A train. It was a struggle, but it made us tough. Hand to mouth, not the fairy tales that you read about. You and I, against the world, we could touch the sky. They can tell us nothing, until they walk a mile in our shoes. Everybody needs something to hold when they've got nothing to lose. You were the only one who gave a damn about me. You were the light when I couldn't see. They can tell us nothing until they walk a mile in our shoes.